I would say the one advice I would give them is to look for perks like deals. Go to F6S, go to Gust, go to all these companies, these accelerators that offer discounts on software. Go to, I know that UC Hastings, they have a program called Startup Legal Garage where you could get free legal assistance for your startup. Um, and there's a lot of programs like that. So definitely do your research. Don't now look, keep things lean. The way that I see it, if you're a startup, is if you need it, build it. If you can't build it, then you don't need it. Just whatever you don't spend, try your best not to spend money. If you're barely in the idea stage, you don't need to be spending money.
Hey everyone, this is Devin Miller here with another episode of The Inventive Journey. I'm your host, Devin Miller, the serial entrepreneur that's grown several startups into 7 and 8 figure businesses, as well as the founder and CEO of Miller IP Law, where he helps startups and small businesses with their patents and trademarks. If you ever need help with yours, just go to strategymeeting.com, grab some time with us to chat, and we're always here to help. Now, today we've got another great guest on the podcast, Vashon Gonzales. And Vashon started his journey on high school was pretty typical. Then after high school, went off to community college. Did it just because he was told to. So he decided to get or do some more general studies, and then got a job, got a girlfriend. Life was good. Then lost the job, lost a condo, sold the cars, lost a girlfriend, and was without a home for a period of time. And then had a cheap truck that he bought and lived in that for a period of time. And then from there, wanted to give up and had or hard to find hope, and then reached out to an older coworker. Coworker helped him to get into real estate, started making some good money, but didn't necessarily enjoy it, and so the business or went away, and then got into school and did financing. Got into some fintech as well as with credit cards, which led to the business, which is what he's doing now. So, with that much as an introduction, welcome on the podcast, Vashon.
Thank you for having me. That's probably the best summary I've ever heard about my life story.
And we condensed it into 45 seconds. So everybody's life is a subtotal of 45 seconds. So no, I did a much more condensed version to a much longer journey. So why don't we rewind and unpack it a little bit? Tell us a little bit about coming out of high school, having a typical experience, and going off to community college.
Yeah, so everything was pretty much, man, I was probably living the most average lifestyle that anyone could think of, which isn't bad. I mean, I had a good paying job, and I had my own condo, and I had two cars. So I mean, life was pretty good. It wasn't, I didn't really want anything that was too spectacular, and I definitely didn't imagine where I'd be in this position I am right now. But yeah, so right after high school, I mean, really, this part is probably like the most boring part of my life. I don't even like talking about it. It's so boring. Um, Really, the more important part of my life doesn't come until after I was homeless. Yeah, and I was homeless for about 5 months. I was living in a 1997 Toyota truck,
Now, just
and
before we get, and definitely sounds like an interesting part of the journey, but just to help us walk us through what led up to that or so, because I mean, at some point you were in college studying, had a job, girlfriend, life was good, as we talked a bit before, but walk us through kind of what transpired that led up to that.
well, first I got laid off. That was the very first thing that happened. So I didn't have a job for me to pay the rent. So I sold my car. So not being able to work, not being able to find a job. So she left, and then it was just me in the condo, which got evicted. So there I was with no condo, no cars. So I had to go to my mom at the time. I think it was like 22, I believe. And she recently bought like this truck. It was like just so she could move some stuff. So it was like $1,000 truck. She gave it to me. That was a 1997, Toyota truck that I was sleeping in, and that was pretty much what led up to that, and definitely the most darkest part of my life. Um, yeah, I don't envy anyone that's being homeless, especially when it's really cold.
Mm. So now, or not to put too fine a point on, it sounds a little bit like the normal country song, which is you lose your car, your girlfriend, your house, and then life is difficult. Now you get to actually live that country song, and wouldn't wish that on anyone. But so you're going through that. You're saying, okay, lost the job, which was a domino effect. Lost the girlfriend, lost the cars, lost the condo. find yourself homeless. Now at least you have a an older truck that you're living in. Although I'm sure it is, as you said, cold and not the most ideal situation. But kind of after coming out of that, having a hard time finding a drive or desire to continue forward, you reached out to an old, I think you said an old coworker that kind of changed the trajectory a bit.
Yeah. So after about being homeless for about 5 months, and I reached out to him in between to asking for help, but he didn't know when I was asking him for help, he didn't know the gravity of the situation. He didn't know why I was homeless. He just thought that I was just looking for a job. So he kind of pushed me on the back burner. And it wasn't until like about the third time, 5 months into being homeless, the third time I reached out to him, where he said, "Hey, let's go out for lunch." And so I think we went to like a Jack in the Box. And like now, keep in mind, I at this point I was already giving up. Like I didn't like. There's a point when you're homeless where you just were like, can I just die? Like I'm really like depressed. I'm alone. I don't know what to do. And it wasn't until I met this other girl, and she had a house, but I was 22. I think she was like 20, and she had a house, but she wanted to be homeless with me. I felt really bad about that. I kept telling her like, no, go home, but she did. She just wanted to be around me. So I felt bad, and I wanted to like get a place like for her because she didn't have to be homeless with me. So that's what led to me calling up my coworker, and finally after the third time, we went to Jack in the Box. We got lunch, and I told him what was going on with me, and he said, "Oh wow, I didn't know it was that bad." I said, "I know." And so he said, "Okay, so here's what I could do. I could let you work with me and teach you how to be an entrepreneur." And he said, "It's not going to be easy, and I'm going to be on your ass, and I'm going to expect perfection from you, but it's all going to pay off in the end." So I said, "Okay, fair enough." And so the first day, I don't think this is what's really cool. No other person would ever do this for anyone. The very first day, he gave me my own. I don't know if it was a condo or an apartment, but he pretty much got it for me. And he said, "Okay, from here on out, you're going to be paying me back for this by working for me." And so we were probably doing that for about a good year or two, maybe like 2 years, and everything was going great. But we started like just separating, and just differences between coworkers. Nothing really bad.
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure he's still doing the real estate game, but I just didn't really enjoy it. I did, however, find myself enjoying finances. I really did enjoy that because when I was homeless, my credit was obviously going down. So, and I had good credit. When I was average Joe, I had about like a 720, and then when I was homeless, it went down to like 6 or 5. Like no, actually, I think it was like 500. And so I was doing my best to like repair it, and I was like learning all this stuff about credit and the bureaus and all that, and it just sparked a hidden interest of wanting to issue credit cards. And I think because I saw that lenders were always well respected. Lenders were always lending to businesses or consumers. They were very well respected. And I wanted to have a business that was well respected like that.
Hmm.
So, so that's what sparked my interest. And starting out, it was not easy. It was definitely not easy. Um, wish I knew then what I knew now, but yeah, it was
Now,
definitely
was the idea as you started out saying, okay, real estate may not be the lifelong pursuit, gave you the ability to kind of you know reinvigorate, get things on track, give you the opportunity. If you're saying long term, not what I want to do, and so you're getting into credit cards now. Is it just simply, hey, I want to go take on Master and Visa card or Visa and Mastercard and all of the big credit card issuers out there, and I'm going to be a competitor to them, or was there any sort of specialization or niche or things, or kind of as you were thinking about, hey, I want to get into credit cards, how did you, kind of what was the thought or the plan there?
So this was during the COVID-19 pandemic. So there was a lot of lenders and banks that were not lending out money or credit cards or any kind of credit. They were just closing their doors to everyone, and businesses were closing down. But at the same time, businesses were coming up during COVID. So you saw this gap of like a lot of businesses opening up and then a lot of businesses closing down. So there's so much opportunity there because the banks aren't lending anymore during this time. So, and also during this time, it was really easy to get funding. I mean, investors were throwing money out like you could just show them a pitch deck and they will just give you money without any due diligence. It was super easy.
Hmm.
So during this time, I created a business plan, pitched it to a couple investors, got some funds, and one of them introduced me to a bank where I started issuing credit cards through them. unsecured. And the whole point of the business plan was saying that, all the opportunity is right here because no one is issuing credit, no one is issuing loans. Like if I do, it's gonna blow up. And within the first week, I had 5,000 applications. We issued over $1 million in credit within the first month, unsecured credit for businesses.
Now you start issuing that credit, and you said, hey, there's a lot of things that you learned along the way. And so, was it everything just took off as anticipated? Money was raining down from the sky. You had more money than knew what to do with, or was it rocky or bumpy, or on the verge of bankruptcy the whole time, or kind of somewhere in between? Or kind of walk us through as you were to get the credit card company up and running and starting to issue these, how that played out.
Man, we were profitable our first month. We got so many applications and we approved so many accounts. And like, I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to put this. We were always at least $100,000 in profit every month, at least for like the very first 4 months. And every month it just kept increasing and increasing and increasing because there was just so many people. Like we had to hire so many people to answer the phones, to complete applications, like for manual review. We were getting it was, and this is gonna sound funny, but we're doing so good that we started attracting a lot of fraud. And the fraud we were getting was people that were inside this country but were not citizens, so they would use like a fake social. But we would go obviously catch it. But we got a lot of those people that was trying to get a credit card from us because we made it super easy. Like even if you had a 300 credit score, we would give you $100 limit credit card. We were just like, oh, are you a citizen of this country? Yeah, okay, here you go. People will come to us like with multiple different businesses, and we would just approve them because it's like, why not? We would lose money, but then we would also make it too. So it was incredible. And yeah, I mean that's why we got 1 million issued in the first month because we were not denying anyone unless they were not a citizen.
So now as you get, continue on, learn further things, and continue to grow. I mean, it sounds like you went through a very quick growth. You brought on a lot of people. You had to deal with fraud. But how did walk us through? This started in COVID, so a couple years ago, or that. How are things continued to evolve as it continued to be a high amount of demand, a lot of people tapered off, or kind of walk us through over the last couple of years how things have continued to progress?
I don't think we lasted more than a year. We ended up selling the portfolio. We got about 1 million out of it. The rest went to the bank. And we also had a bunch of bad debt that we ended up selling on this platform called, what's it called? Debt Expert. You can actually see our portfolio on there that we sold to them. And from there, we kind of used those funds to try something new, which was starting a credit card issuing business, but for other businesses. So we tried to white label it for other companies. That was a huge undertaking, more than $1 million worth of what that was spent, and it ended by the team pretty much disbanding. The CEO, like because I named a different CEO, he left, and then everyone shortly followed. So it was just me dealing with like this global enterprise, and I had no choice but to sell it. So that's what I did, and then now we're here.
Now walk everybody through what is here now. So you ended up selling, you went through that transition, you ended up selling it, and then kind of from that, where did you go, or what are you doing now, or kind of what's the next phase of the plan?
So the original idea that I had that I was trying to do was a stock back rewards credit card. That was probably I probably did a lot more traveling just trying to get the resources for that card than I ever did with any other venture I did. But eventually, I want to say about 6 months into it, I just gave it up because it was just there's too many roadblocks, and I found another different problem that I could solve around the same avenue with businesses. So it's a lot easier. And I realized it's a lot easier to do lending when it comes to businesses versus consumers. Consumers have a lot more restrictions on it that really fall into play. And so I'm glad that it didn't work out because it was going to be more expensive just getting all the legal team and compliance together just for that. So what we're doing now is we are pretty much offering capital up to 250,000 to startups and small businesses to pay for their invoices. Not only that, we are going to be the very first fraudulent invoice detector on the market that not only pays for legitimate invoices on a line of credit, but disputes fraudulent invoices. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with how big fraudulent invoices are, but to give you an idea, there's 134,000 fraudulent invoices that get paid every single month. Um, a better example, are you familiar with Barbara from Shark Tank?
Sure.
A couple of years ago, she paid $400,000 on a fake invoice that was sent by who knows. So someone who told her to wire money to an account. She thought it was one of her vendors. Turns out that when they took a second look at the email, it was the exact same email, but it was missing one letter. And so that's how they knew it was fraudulent. Even bigger, Amazon, they recently lost $19 million in fraudulent invoices last year alone. So the problem is really big, and the reason why is because when you're a large enterprise, you're getting an invoice. You're just like, oh, it's just another invoice, just get paid, whatever. It's not until tax time comes around where you're like, wait a second, where's my calculator? None of this is adding up, and there's really no other platform out there that could detect fraudulent invoices. You have automated workflows, but all those do is just automate payments. They don't detect fraud. We do, and not only that, but not only will we dispute those fraudulent invoices, but the legitimate ones that do come in get paid on a line of credit, which saves businesses their cash flow. They don't have to use their own money. They'll use ours. They'll pay from the line of credit. So they'll pay their vendors on time without sacrificing cash flow, and they'll save money by not paying fraudulent invoices. And that's what we do.
Sounds like it's a pretty good space to be in. Certainly solves a pain point and allows people to save money or to avoid paying out money unnecessarily. So that sounds like a great next phase in the journey. And so now if you're to look out, kind of saying, okay, the next 6 to 12 months, kind of where do you see things headed, or how do you see things progressing?
12 months? That's a good question. I haven't heard that one before. That was a joke. See, 12 months. I mean, I would hope by 12 months we reached our 1,000 customer mark. And once we do, we plan on raising another round. The next round we're going to raise, we're going to go for 10 million. But we need to have at least 1,000 active users on our platform before that could happen. So in 12 months, I hope that we get that much. That's the big goal.
No, sounds like a good goal, and one that are hopefully is achievable and allows the business to continue to thrive and be successful. So that's awesome. So, well, now as we've reached the present day of the journey, I always like to wrap up the podcast with the same two questions. Now, before that, you've been gracious enough to sponsor a water bottle giveaway, and I always love these because I just like water bottles and cool things to give away, but it also allows the audience to be able to participate and get a reward for listening to the episode. So to do that, they'll just, and we'll provide the details, but they'll go to the Miller IP Law website and check out to get one of the water bottles. But to do that, they need to get or use a promo code. So I'll turn it over to you to share what that promo code is.
Yeah, so the promo code is going to be inventive.
Simple and easy as that. Inventive journey, and it's going to be inventive, so I like it. So
code when they go to an application to fill it out.
Yep, absolutely. So yeah, and I encourage everybody. It's first come first serve. The first people or 5 people to participate in the giveaway are the ones that are gonna to get the awesome or water bottles that we give away that are personally engraved. So now with that in hand, and with that as the introduction to the final 2 questions, we'll jump to those now. So the first question I'd love to ask is, along your journey, what was the worst business decision you ever made? What did you learn from it?
Oh man, I can only pick one.
Pick your favorite.
Worst business decision that I ever made. Okay, none of them are my favorite, but there are learning that I would advise everyone not to make is signing an agreement before using the products. Meaning that if you're going to go to a supplier and they want you to sign an agreement, say like for instance, use APIs, make sure you have a build of the APIs first before you send agreement, because they're going to start charging you that every month, and you don't want to be charged the building because you're not signing the agreements. If you're in the tech business, just build out your, in the sandbox, build out the agreements. So I made that mistake way too many times.
No, and that's one where, hey, you're wanting to hit the ground running, you're wanting to get things in place, you're wanting to make progress, you get excited about the project, and so you're kind of work to get all those in hand. And yet, once you sign the agreement, you're on the hook. You have to start paying. You start incurring that expense, whether you're ready to utilize it or use it, or whether or not it makes sense or not. So certainly an easy mistake to make, but a great one to learn from. Second question now that I like to ask is, so now if you're talking to someone that's just getting into a startup or a small business, what would be the one piece of advice you give them?
Man, I would give them so much advice. I would talk their ear off. Trying to think, because I'm pretty sure everyone has said, don't give up, or the classic advice you give to a startup. I would say the one advice I would give them is to look for perks, like deals. Go to F6S, go to Gust, go to all these companies, these accelerators that offer discounts on software. Go to, I know that UC Hastings, they have a program called Startup Legal Garage where you could get free legal assistance for your startup. Um, and there's a lot of programs like that. So definitely do your research. Don't, oh, look, keep things lean. The way that I see it, if you're a startup, is if you need it, build it. If you can't build it, then you don't need it. Just whatever you don't spend, try your best not to spend money. If you're barely in the idea stage, you don't need to be spending money. There's a lot of free alternatives out there. There's a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? There's a lot of programs out there that will give you what you want for practical thing. And as long as you can find them, it'll be way worth it instead of having to go $1,000 in debt every single month in your business running. Made that mistake too many times too.
No, I think that's it's a good point. And I think sometimes whether people are too bashful or don't know that they're out there or too prideful or whatever reason, there's a lot of great resources that are inexpensive or oftentimes, as you said, free that can definitely be beneficial to the business. So that you can take advantage of and leverage, especially in the early on, can certainly be beneficial and positive to the business. So I think that's a great piece of advice and takeaway for people. Now, as we do wrap up, if people want to reach out to you, they want to be a customer, they want to be a client, they want to be an employee, they want to be an investor, they want to be your next best friend, any or all of the above, what's the best way to reach out to you, contact you, find out more?
Yeah, they can reach me either by email, which is my first name, Vashon, Vashon, at Pageon, PAYGEON.com, or .io, either or works. Or they could find me on LinkedIn, just Vashon Gonzales, and they can send me a friend request.
Awesome. Well, I definitely encourage people to reach out and make a new connection, support a great business. If nothing else, make a new best friend. So with that, thank you again, Vashon, for coming on the podcast. It's been fun. It's been a pleasure. Now, for all of you that are listeners that are out there, if you have your own journey to share and you'd like to be a guest on the podcast, we'd love to have you. So just go to inventiveguest.com, apply to be a guest on the show. Also, or if you can help us to share these journeys with even more startups and small businesses by clicking share, subscribe, and leaving us a review, helps us to even reach more startups and small businesses to help them along their journey to success. And on that note, if along your journey you ever need help with patents or trademarks or anything else with your startup or your small business, just go to strategymeeting.com, grab some time with us to chat, and we're always here to help. Well, thank you again, Vashon, for coming on the podcast, and wish the next leg of your journey even better than the last.
Thank you very much for having me.